Good morning. Hi, I'm Dr. Melissa Sporn, and this is Mimi Weisberg, clinical social worker. And today we're presenting Managing the Moments from the Safe Community Coalition. We're both members of the Safe Community Coalition's Mental Health Committee, and we're providing these talks as a service to the community to help you through this very challenging and difficult time. Today, Mimi Weisberg will be leading us in talking about effective communication. So to start with, Mimi, why don't we talk about why have a conversation about communication?
Yeah, everybody wants to be listened to, heard, and understood. That is a bottom line. And sometimes we're good at it and effective, and sometimes we're not. And as you were saying earlier, in this pandemic situation when we're all together and under the same roof and can't quite get away from each other at times to do some things that would normally take off some steam so we can come back to our families and feel refreshed. It's even more important now to think about how we communicate, what we're communicating, so that we can be heard and listened and understood.
Let's talk a little bit about ineffective communication methods. What do you see that people commonly get wrong?
They interrupt. They don't listen. They think they know what the other person's going to say. Or as a speaker, I'm not fully sharing all of my ideas. I'm really looking for a Vulcan mind meld. Like I just want someone to get it. And I think frustration can come out of that. Different styles. People have different personalities, even within the same family. Those are some of the things I think can get in the way.
And what methods do you teach people to help them communicate better with one another?
Well, one of the first things I talk about is empathy and compassion, is having a sense of where the other person is coming from, allowing that to happen, to have a sense of where someone else is coming from, and to understand that it's a build-up over time sometimes, where these little tears in relationships, if they're not repaired and mended, can really add up to a sense of distance. And that doesn't feel good in a family. That doesn't feel good in a relationship. That doesn't feel good in a friendship.
Absolutely. I know you've talked in the past about tools or methods. You sort of teach a toolbox filled with strategies.
Yeah.
Can you give us some of those tools today?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to, because as I said earlier, everyone wants to be listened to, heard, and understood. And I think if we can help people become better at listening and better at speaking, because it's a transactional experience. So one of the things I like to do is Mimi's 3 R's. 3 ways of listening that gives us a different frame. It helps center the speaker and the listener, and either the speaker or the listener can initiate this. So the first one is to just listen, and that R is to receive it. So if I come to you, Melissa, and I say, I've got to get something off my chest. Can you just listen to me, please? And you're doing what you're doing. You're nodding, you're making eye contact, your body is turned towards me. I just need to get it off my chest. And I know I want to do it. I don't want to do it to a blank wall. I want to do it to a human being.
So I would imagine that also means that I'm then the receiver. Like I'm not thinking, how am I going to respond to this? How am I going to problem solve
That's
this?
right.
I'm just listening.
That's
I'm really
right.
just hearing it.
That's
It's
exactly
almost
what
like
I'm asking.
I'm a vessel.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I come to you and I say, Melissa, I've got to just get something off my chest. Can you just listen so I know there's a warm body that cares about me? And that's what I needed. The second R would be review it. So I'm going to say, look, Melissa, I've got something that I'm really chewing on. I want to spit out my ideas, and then I'd like for us to brainstorm together. Don't take it over. I'd like you to add some of your ideas, maybe tell me what you heard me saying, and that will be enormously helpful. And then trust my own inner wisdom at that point to maybe be able to put all that together and come up with a way to help solve my problem.
So in this one, it feels to me like what I'm trying to do is really help you sort it out. Like this is, you're a little overwhelmed with maybe all of the choices or options you have, and I'm just helping you kind of cull them. And I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just kind of reviewing with you what the situation is, what options you might have to help you see it more clearly.
Yes, absolutely. Because the other thing I want to inject in that is that when people come and ask for advice, 90% of the time they don't really want advice. maybe 10%, maybe a little bit more, but what they really want to do is be able to hear what they said. And if you're adding your ideas in my brainstorm, but I'm the one who's initiating it, I can still feel as though I have the power and the control over myself instead of giving it up, but you're adding to it.
Yeah, so I often tell parents that no advice, no recommendations, no suggestions, because us coming up with our own solution, when I come to somebody with a problem, I want to be enabled, I want agency, I want to feel like I can control the outcome.
Right.
And by a parent or a friend sharing with me, okay, this is what you have to do, it can make me feel disenabled.
Exactly.
And dysfunctional.
Yep, you got it. Yep. So we've got receive it, the first one, review it, the second one, and the last one is respond to it. So I say to you, Melissa, I'm really struggling with this. I blurt it out, I get it all out, and I say, just help me figure this out, or do this for me. You know, be my knight in shining armor. Because I really am at the point where I can't cope anymore. But I've given you that permission to do it, and you've allowed me to give that permission. And then you can ask me some more questions. Okay, specifically, what
Can I do to help?
And I might even say, I don't even know. Just what do you hear? Or take care of it.
And then we might go back to the review, or we may, okay, great.
Exactly. So those are our
I
three
like
R's.
the 3 R's. That's
So that's
wonderful.
that's something that's really helpful. I also think learning to ask for what you need and want, if we can get clear as speakers beforehand, that really helps, which might mean, walking around my bedroom, pacing with the thoughts in my head. Okay, what's this about? What am I angry about? Kind of filtering
I
it.
wonder too if when somebody comes to me with an issue or problem, or I'm having a conversation with somebody, and my instinct initially is to problem solve. Before I do that, I can just say, let me ask what you need from me here, or how can I be of help? And that will give you that prompt to perhaps think through, well, I don't really want answers, I just want you to listen, or I really need an answer here and I'm not sure what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Staying in the present situation is really helpful. So that is an effective communication technique. There's always going to be history, especially in a family, of you did this, you didn't do that, this worked, this didn't work, or you're favored, or whatever the dynamic is. But if you can just stay in the present with the person and not pull in old history, that really helps to diminish things like resentment and talking in generalities, things that we know are ineffective communication skills. Another one I'd like to say is what my clients refer to as Mimi's 3 C's. So in the service of not wanting people to be defensive, in the service of wanting to be heard and understood and wanting to be listened to, back and forth, my experience is that if you use one of these 3 C's, or even combine them all together, it helps to diminish that excitability and defensiveness. And in no particular order, the first one could be confused. So I would say, Melissa, I'm really confused. Yesterday you said this and today you're saying that. I'm not sure where to go with all this. Help me understand. So I can be confused.
And I would feel that if I'm coming to you with an issue or a problem, or if we're having a conflict and you approached it with confusion rather than reactivity, that will help de-escalate. That
Right.
You're being kind of more an anthropologist, kind of what's going on here and how can I be of help, or what's the circumstance, and you're going to ask more questions. You're kind of
Coming from that confusion.
Yes, I don't know what's going on.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And it's better than blaming, pointing the finger. Yeah. The second C is concern. I'm concerned. I heard you crying in your room last night, and I wasn't exactly sure what to do about it, but I want you to know I'm concerned about you. As opposed to, why were you up at midnight crying? I don't get it. What do you have to cry about?
Yeah, so, and of course, anytime we're engaging with another person and they're demonstrating concern for us, it makes us feel valued.
Exactly,
So
and cared for.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's wonderful.
And the third one, which is my favorite, which you alluded to earlier in some ways, is be curious. Be that anthropologist and go in really curious. It's like, I'm curious how you came to that decision. Not, and I don't get it and you're wrong, just I'm really curious, help me understand this. I find that any of those 3 ways of approaching, those 3 C's, helps lower people's defenses and makes it easier for them to share.
Oh, that's wonderful. I often say to parents, that concept of, when we know our kids have made mistakes and we're upset about it and we come at them accusatory, that if we just came at them kind of curious, I want to understand how you made that choice and what informed that decision, that it's going to help them both to open up and to admit their own wrongdoing, as well as to learn from the experience, which is really our goal. Right?
Absolutely, and it leads to clarifying questions that parents can learn, anybody can learn how to ask a clarifying question, which comes from the curiosity piece. So how did you get to that place? Help me understand. And what other things have you thought about regarding this issue, this topic?
Well, that's wonderful. I really appreciate that. Are there anything else you'd like to share with us?
There are a couple more I'd like to interject about timing. That you really want to make sure that you've thought about when you're going to talk to somebody, especially if it's something that you're uncomfortable with or that they did wrong. Is you don't want to, in the height of an argument, is not the time. Or when somebody comes home at midnight and it's broken a curfew, that is not necessarily the time to get into it. So be mindful of the timing. I think that that's important. The other thing is 3 magic words. 3 magic words. I like 3s. Is tell me more. That shows you're interested, you're curious, you want to understand. It's not accusatory. It doesn't help, and it doesn't make somebody be defensive. It says, I want to hear, I want to know, I'm receptive. Tell me more.
I love that. So you gave us 3 R's, the 3 C's, and 3 words. Tell me more. Thank you so much, Mimi. I think we're all going to be better communicators having learned from you.
Thank you.
Shoo.